Alright, so hello everyone. So now as you have learned that how can you use this use state hook and you can manage your state with this. So over here you see that we have used all of these buttons and now you can just pass on your functions inside this on click property and you will be able to call this, you'll be able to set your values and you will be able to do a lot of stuff. But what now if in place of buttons you have different HTML elements? Suppose you have an input element, suppose you have a different text area, suppose you have an entire form, right? How will you handle all of these elements by using React, right? So that's basically the objective of this lecture. We'll see that if you have different React elements or if you different HTML elements, how you're going to handle them, right? So first thing that I'll do is I'll just go to this form.jsx component. This is a simple empty file that I've created, form.jsx. Over here we'll be creating an input field. We'll be talking about how you can do state stuff with the input field, and then we'll actually handle an entire form, right? So let's start with this. So what I will do is I'll just go to app.jsx. I'll just first write this React function component export. So I'll just create a simple component and I'll just now render out this particular component inside my main app.jsx component. So over here I'll just say form, this one, and yes, we have the form. Oops, yes. So we have the form component. Now let's build this form component a little. Let's first see that if it's getting rendered or not. Yes, so we have this form, right? So yes, we have this form component. Now what I will do is I'll just go inside this div and I'll get an input element. Or before an input element, let's get a form element first. Let's just get a form element. And inside this form element, I'll get one input element. And that input element will be just a simple text input element. Great, simple. So if I now go over here, you can see this text input element is over here, and I can just go over here. I can write whatever I want, right? Whatever string you want, whatever keys you want to press in your keyboard, you will be able to write it over here. But what if I go over here to this input field, to this input element, and I set a value attribute, and I set this to an empty string, right? Or let me just set it to scalar, something like that. So when I set this value attribute over here, this value attribute is very important because whenever you do logical stuff, whenever you want to get the value out of an input field, you'll be using this attribute only, right? If you're not familiar with this value attribute, I strongly recommend you to basically clear your basics up with these HTML tags, with these HTML attributes, right? Great. So let's move forward. So this value attribute will be only used to take up the values. So if I go over here right now, so this value attribute has scalar. So scalar is getting written over this input field. Fair enough. But see one thing, what will happen now? If I go over here and if I try to write something now, I'm pressing my keys, but I'm not able to write anything. And why is that happening? To know the reason, let's go to inspect. And let's go to this console. I'll refresh everything. And now you see, I'm actually getting a warning, right? So error is not there, but there is a warning. And this warning is, you provided a value prop to a form field without an onChange handler. Right? So whenever we talk about input fields in React, we should always pass this onChange handler. Right? This onChange handler is just a React property which will manage your changes. Whatever changes you will do in your input field, this will manage that. Right? Or otherwise, if you do not set onChange, it will just be a read-only property. So you will be only able to read this, you will not be able to edit this, or you will not be able to write something on this input field, right? So that's basically the part that you should take care of. So we have to take care of this onChange handler. So that's why over here with this input field, we get this onChange handler. This onChange handler, right? Similar to this onClick, if you remember about this counter, we have this onClick property. Similar to this, we have a onChange handler over here as well. So we have to have this property, right? And this property will again take some functions which can run whenever you will change something, right? So let's write a function now. So if I write a function, let me call this as handle change only, right? Just a simple handle change function, and inside this handle change function I will just do a console.log of some change occurred, something like that. I'll just pass a random text, and I'll just have this function and I'll call this inside the sort change. That's it, right? So now I think the problem will be solved, right? Let's check. So over here I'll refresh everything so that all these messages will be gone. Yes, so now the warning is gone. Now we are not receiving any errors, any warning. So now I think we are good to go. Now if I go over here in this input field and now if I try to write anything, you see I'm still not able to write anything in this input field, but my handler is running. My handler is running and it is saying that okay, some change has occurred, but it's not reflecting over here. And why it is not reflecting over here is that React again says that whenever you want to make some changes over here, you need to maintain a state for that, right? You need to maintain a state. And when we are in this functional component thing, so over here, what we use the use state hook. So we'll again need to use the use state hook and we'll need to maintain a particular state and we'll need to maintain a method which will change that value, a variable and a method, right? That's how use state works. So let's basically bring into our picture the use state hook again. And this time we'll be using the use state to handle our inputs, right? Let's try this. So if I go over here and yes, the syntax will be the same. So I'll just do a const, an empty array first, and then we'll just use the use state hook and I'll initialize the value with an empty text. I'll say that, okay, the variable I'm going to take is, the name will be text and the method I'll take is set text. Just like that, simple use state hook. And when I've taken this use state hook, what I need to do is I basically need this hook to change something in my input field, right? So what I will do is I'll just change this value to text, right? Something like that. So now will it change? Let's try. Alright, still nothing. Why nothing? Because whenever we are writing anything, this particular text is not changing, right? We're not changing anything with the state. So we need to maintain this method as well. So to do that, what we'll do is first we'll need to get the value of your input field, whatever you're going to type over there. How will you get that? You'll be able to get that with using the event object. Yes, just as we do in vanilla JavaScript, right? DOM basically. So over there we get this E particular object, right? E object, which is your event object. This also stands for event object. So if I go over here and if I remove this console log statement and if I just write E and let's go back, let's refresh everything. And now if I go over here and if I try to type something, let's type A. So you see, as soon as I have typed A, I'm getting a synthetic based event. That is basically a keyboard event, right? In a nutshell. Alright, and if I go inside this, you will see that all of these particular fields are over here, all of these properties are here, right? The target, the input, everything, right? So basically if I open this particular target, so you see I have an input field with the value, right? This input field with its value is not visible over here. This is an empty string by default, right? By default the value is an empty string. This, if I change this to something else, let's change this to scalar. So now your value will become scalar. Let's refresh this. And if I just now type something over here, you see synthetic events, and over here if I go to this target input, this is scalar right now, right? So this is basically a default value. So we need to make changes to this value so that it will reflect, in our state, and then we can actually change this particular input field, right? So to do that, what we'll need to do is we need to tell this particular set text to update our value, right? To update our value. Let me just make this as an empty string again. So what we'll do is we'll just go over here, we'll say set text to e dot target dot value. That's it, right? So set my text to e dot target dot value, and as soon as we'll do this, this particular text variable will start taking up whatever we are going to write in our input field, right? Let's try this out now. So if I now do this, yes, now I'm able to write everything. Now I am able to write everything, right? Let's refresh, and basically let me now go over here and I'll just console log the E object for you as well, right? So as soon as I'm changing something, you see all of these events are getting triggered. Let's check for this last event. Now let me just refresh this. I'll just do one letter so I can show you this in a better way. I'll just go over here, and now if I go to this target, now you see this has changed everything, right? Interesting, right? And if I just go, if I just go ahead, if I write A, B, C, D, something like that, So events will be triggered, 4 events are triggered for 4 letters, and now if I go over here and if I check the target, here the target is, and here basically we have this input, so we have A, B, C, D, right, like that. So now we are actually maintaining a state, now we are actually changing that state, we are using that method, that's why now we are allowed to write something over here, right? So basically, easier way of doing it is that it is not recommended to use a function like this, right? Because it can get a little messy. So what we do is we basically take our event over here in a function and we call our set text directly with the e.target.value. This is a direct approach of doing it, right? So what we are doing over here is we're saying, okay, on change, take an event, take the event object, whatever value is there, just use this set text method and set that value. So whatever you will write, it will get set to this particular method, and this method will set it for a variable. And over here, you will be able to extract this value out as well, right? So now if I go here and if I write an h1 suppose, and if I say that, okay, whatever is the text value, just show that to me, right? What is this text? This is this particular variable, right? If I now go back and if I now write anything, you see all of the letters I'm getting back, right? So now I'm able to extract these values as well. So this is how basically you can handle a input element inside React, right? So basically if you are new to this, it will be a little tricky, but yes, keep practicing, just watch this recording again and basically you'll be able to get it, right? Thank you so much for watching this video.